And you all taught me, why don't you tell her you don't like chocolate cake, you'd rather have a banana? You don't talk too long. So I told her I'd like to have a banana. She said, sure. The truth might work, Otto. The secrets were secret. Why don't you try the truth for a while? Why don't you just try telling people the truth and see if it doesn't work for you? And I'm like, gosh, the truth works really good. I live in a glass house today. I have come to know in my world that God's will for Otto is anything I want to do. I used to think God's will was this little narrow path, and I couldn't stay on it. Today, I believe that God's will is anything I want to do. What would you like to do, Otto? I'll see if I can help you. As long as it's not a secret. If I can't tell my wife, if I can't tell my kids, if I can't tell the neighbors, the tax man, or the policeman, if I can't tell you what I'm doing, if I can't tell my sponsors or my sponsees, then I best not do it. That's not God's will for me. That's Otto's rule of thumb of God's will. What do you want to do, Otto? Anything I want to do, I can do, as long as it's not a secret. And that makes it real easy in the decision-making process. It's real easy to decide if I should do this or not, because if I can't tell you, then the answer is no. I have had opportunity to. I don't think I'd want to tell Pat that, so I don't. I've gone through ridiculous honesty and outrageous honesty, and I finally got down to just rigorously honest. And I found that it's a wonderful way to live. I live in a glass house, and it set me free of fear. I don't have to be fearful of being caught. And I did a fears inventory, and I found out that I'm afraid of everything. I told my sponsor at age 37, I'm afraid of nothing. And I was telling him the truth when I said it. I ain't afraid of nothing. I'll whip your butt. I'm decorated for combat in Vietnam, and I'll whip you and everybody else. I got big dogs and guns. I ain't afraid of nothing. Will you get your business away from it? Write down something, would you please? Just write fear, God help me at the top, write down something. Spiders. The dog. Being in pain. Not having any money. Being laughed at. Being left alone. All this stuff just starts coming out with a magic pencil. And I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of everything. Holy cow, 37 years old and I didn't know I'm afraid of everything. First time in my life, I'm afraid of everything. And my thought was just, why? What's wrong with why? Why do you feel why? Are you afraid of it? Why are you afraid? I don't know. Look at it. I don't know. I'm afraid because self-reliance has failed me. I became self-reliant on September 22nd, 1968, and it has failed me. Everything I've tried to do, I can't make happen. I cannot make things happen. I cannot get happiness. I cannot find what I need for myself. I need a higher power that can give me what I can't do for myself. And this was all good news. I did a second deviate. Came up with a new plan for sex and set my own guidelines. I had never had guidelines for sex before. My sex was based on pornography and barroom and locker room talk. And dirty jokes. That's what my sex life was based on. I had no idea. I felt it, thought about it, did it. And so I had never given a thought to what am I going to feel good about this tomorrow if I do this? And so I made a list of things that I can and can't do. Otto's rules for sex. Nobody else's. Something like a salt and pepper diet. We don't know which one you want. But I got my set of rules for what my future sex conduct is to be, and it's made it easy for me. Now when I have an urge to do something that's not on my list, I just don't do it. Because I know that it's not going to be my benefit. So my life just keeps getting better. I get information, but as I'm getting this information, things are happening too. Things are happening. I mean, I'm having all these wild experiences. Now, we're going to have a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, but I've had many, many, many spiritual experiences on the way to this spiritual awakening. And what's happened is everything in my life has been made right. Everything that was wrong in my life has been made right. That's an amazing statement. But it's absolutely true. There's more than Serenity Prayer than what we say in meetings. And that long version of the Serenity Prayer says God will make everything right if we'll just completely give ourselves to Him. Now, I've done that to the best of my ability. Now, my idea and concept of God has changed. As I work through these steps, what I've come to know is that God's not a Disneyland God like the God that I had, but that God does love me. And He loves me because He's God, not because I'm good. I don't have to do anything to earn His love. Just like no newcomer has to do anything to earn our affection when they come into the wombs of alcoholics and homes. And so I learned how to love in here. The first person, I told a lot of people I loved them, but the first person I ever fell in love with was a kid named Rick. I was about 7 months sober, and he said, "Would you be my sponsor?" And I said, "Oh, no, I don't have enough time." But I was kind of flattered that he would ask. I told my sponsor I didn't ask him to be his sponsor. He sounded pretty good in those meetings. He said, "What'd you tell him?" I said, "I told him I didn't have enough time." He said, "What step are you on?" I said, 8. He said, "What step's he on?" I said, "Well, I guess he's on 1. He said, "Well, why don't you go help him with 1 through 7? So I went and found Rick, said, "Okay, I'll be your temporary sponsor," and I started trying to help him. Man, Rick had nothing to offer me. This is a sick baby. This is a sick baby. But I busted chops. I started going to extra meetings. I'm reading out of the book because I want to know what to do for Rick, and I'll fall in love with him. You know, the feeling follows the action. And I've been able to take that home and do it with my wife, and do it with my kids, and do it with my estranged family. You know, my dad died a few years ago, and I buried a loved one, not a lovable one. He was an ass right up to the time he died. He was a sick man. I had nothing but compassion for his illness. He was a sick man. I'd be coming home from the prison meeting. I take those meetings to the prison FCIO. You know, I go out there every week, take a meeting. And on the way home, I'd stop at the little country tavern where he'd be drunk. Because he's been barred from every tavern in Oklahoma City. He has to go out of town to drink. He's so nasty and vile. And I'd go into that tavern, I'd sit down, and I'd have a Coke, and I'd scratch my dad's old burr head, and I'd tell him I loved him. And I knew the joy of loving my father. You see, my father was perfect. There's nothing wrong with my father. God is in His heaven, all is right on earth. I used to have this overwhelming sensation that there's something wrong, it shouldn't be this way, something bad is going to happen, it shouldn't happen, there's something wrong. Now, everything's fine. Everything is fine. God is in His heaven, all is right on earth. God is everything or He's nothing. It would be wrong for my dad to behave any way other than the way he acts, having had his life experience, real or imagined. So I got to love my dad.